I was just, those who know me, who are here, know that I'm intimately familiar with Hillsdale and and I think you and I kind of probably may see indeed eye to eye on what's kind of a sort of chewing on tinfoil feeling at Hillsdale, and I think that there's a certain amount of that in common with a lot of objection I'm hearing to your, and I'm sorry to do this with a long and complex question.
That's all right, go ahead.
With your referring to the founding documents, I see a lot of people who say patriotism and use it as a trump card and say we are being patriotic, we should turn off thought, we should turn off dialogue. Is there possibly, and I realize that the founding documents they're fucking awesome. That is what they are. And they are essential. They are essential, they are revolutionary, but are there other documents that don't have such cathexis that you could reference? The Magna Carta, Cicero, Seneca, Cato the Elder, Cato the Younger. Help me out here.
Iliad, Faust.
Yeah, you know, no, I take your point.
Yeah.
It's an excellent question. Other liberal arts colleges in other countries would study all of the documents that you mentioned. We have to include, if we were in France, I'd be saying we should study the founding French documents. That's the reason. And again, it's part of that insistence by which Socrates made his turn, that if we're going to understand the whole, we've got to examine our active examining, which means studying our context. So that's a lot different. That's not patriotism.
It's my understanding that the founding documents of the United States are important to the great books of the world, not because we're in America, but because they were essentially first instance of a representative democracy in the world. So if we were studying the great books in France, we would still be studying the U.S. founding documents.
Absolutely.
But, you know, it would not, I don't know the Declaration of Independence is a great book. I don't consider
It's a great declaration. It's a great piece of writing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't consider it.
Yeah, it's in
The great books that inform the construction of the Declaration of Independence would be Locke and Montesquieu and Adam Smith, right? So the reason that we focus on it is because of where we are. I'm sorry?
Two Englishmen and a Frenchman.
Well, I mean, and others, but I mean, you have to look at the founders of the modern project, whom, and I point to them only because Madison and Jefferson point to them.
But I mean, I guess like the reason I don't buy your argument that this is our context and that's why we start with them is because, I mean, my context has much more to do with like Chomsky and corporate citizenship and stuff like that than it does with like the democracy that was founded by the Declaration of Independence. I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm not sure what America you were born into, but I'm born into America where, like, I mean, representative democracy was kind of a farce. I mean, the Adam Smith free market no longer exists. I mean, if we're going to study our context truly, I think we should be studying much more radical people, not in your sense.
Sure, but you know what? You know what? If we're Chomsky here, he would say that that quest, with which he would agree, must include a serious study of the founding documents. Even if you come to the conclusion that America is the enemy, you need to know your enemy.
Oh, sure, but it doesn't begin with it necessarily. It doesn't privilege it necessarily.
Well, I mean, you may not end up there, so it doesn't privilege it, but you have to start there. And you know, the reason for the founding document, we've already established the reason why Shimer has, before I got here, studied founding documents. The reason in particular for the founding documents is it's not filial piety by any means. In fact, it's the opposite. What it is think of 1787. Russia. Who ruled Russia in 1787? The year that the Constitution was written. I think Catherine the Great?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1787, China would have been a member of the Manchu dynasty. But if a member of the Manchu dynasty from 1787 were to come to China, we wouldn't recognize what was going on. The same with Catherine the Great if she would have come to Russia. But James Madison would come back, he came back to Congress and watch what was going on. He would understand it perfectly. Let's say he'd approve of it all. And so the point here, it's not filial piety, it's sound political science, because these documents continue to inform the way of life that is our context. That's the reason. And I know I said 2 questions ago that was going to have to be the last question, but I have to.
That's for real, but that's
I would like
that's
to
for real.
re-invite you to address the concerns raised in this current issue of promulgates and disseminate that to the community.
Anytime. As I said,
Will you make a commitment to respond
I
to
think
the
I
concerns raised?
Including the 3,800 alums for whom you have mailing addresses.
Right.
yeah, and I think I already have. Didn't I send out an invitation to all students? Come to my office anytime. In fact, I think about a dozen of you have taken me up on it.
Well, but the problem with that is
Lunch.
it's private, right? It's not public. It's these private
Yeah.
meetings. Like, you and I are in theory going to get together and talk about Socrates on the 24th. I can still do that.
I hope that I
But
can.
unless you and I are like taping that conversation, that's just something for you and me to talk about because it'll be fun. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the problem with all these appointments that you've scheduled is in theory you're addressing the community, but you're atomizing the community as well addressing them. And that's
Well,
the precise opposite of what we're hoping will take place.
Yeah,
I think
it's the precise opposite
Right.
of what I want. My thought was that community meetings such as this, such as we've had in the past, plus just getting to talk. I like to talk to students and alums about the great books, about the mission of liberal education, so I just find it pleasant and good.
So will you publicly, in a way that the 3,800 alums and the entire community can see, respond to the issues raised in this current issue of promulgates?
I've read it when it was first sent to me to see if there are any factual errors. If I spent all my time responding to all the charges and promulgates, I wouldn't be able to do the rest of my job. I'm sure that these issues will come out, and as they do, I'll respond to them, but I have a lot of things to do. And that's just a fact. So, but again, thank you very much, and I hope this isn't the last discussion.
we'll see you on Sunday.
Good. See you on Sunday.